one of the things I love about the president is he's not afraid to take difficult questions. He's not afraid to speak directly to the American people. He's not afraid to be challenged. He is the most accessible president that we've had in modern history.
I want to welcome you who are readers of the stream and watching this. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is here. Many of you may not know this, but Mike Huckabee started here with us a long time ago. I bought him his first suits, and he tells everybody that. He's just what a blessing. But boy, has his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, been amazing. And here is a book that you can get right now. And this is speaking for herself, Faith, Freedom, the Fight of Our Lives Inside the Trump White House. Sarah, I'm glad to talk to you. You know, we've talked to you on Life Today, and our viewers will see it. We're encouraging everybody to pray and vote wisely, vote principle. Thank you for coming on to be with us. If you want all the people who read the stream, they're looking for biblical insight, looking for guidance to impact the culture effectively as salt and light from a biblical point of view. What do you want people to know who come to the stream? Your dad's on here several times a week, and we've been walking together for a long time. What do you want the people who go to the stream to hear from you, having been with the president up close for over 2 years?
Well, first, just thank you. And it's nice to follow in my dad's footsteps a little bit here. So I appreciate the time. One of the reasons I wrote the book is because there's been so much attention around Donald Trump and his presidency. Unfortunately, most of it misses the mark. And they are all these negative naysayers about the president. I spent almost every single day with him for 2.5 years. And I saw somebody who loves this country, who's generous, who's compassionate, who empowered me to go out and do my job, carry his message to the country and frankly to the world. And I wanted people to see that side of Donald Trump, the one that the media will never show you, because they don't want him to continue to be successful. And I think that that is a tragedy, because Donald Trump's success is America's success. And that's something we all need to be fighting for. And it's one of the reasons I wrote the book, and one of the things that I hope people will take away when they read it.
Well, you know, when I watched the Republican convention, both the Democrat and Republican on television, I commented to a number of people, even those close to the president, that it was more like an old Baptist revival. And your dad was a Baptist pastor, and of course here I was, Billy Graham and I were both Southern Baptist evangelists, and it really was. There was so many great stories of commitment and conviction about things that mattered, the foundation stones of freedom, and I listened to it and how the people's lives had been changed, and many of them how they'd been changed by the acts of this president. And I've tried to tell people, please remember, there's only one perfect teacher, and it's Jesus. And he had a little trouble with his disciples after 3 years up close and personal himself. He still couldn't seem to keep them in control in the right way. And there's old Simon Peter. He's denying Jesus 3 times, and yet he loved him so much that he became the keynote speaker at Pentecost. And so I think really we haven't necessarily seen this New York contractor's personality change rapidly, but there's a tenderness, a gentleness that I saw right off the bat, a legitimate concern for what is actually best for every American. Never heard this president talk about what's best for him, what's best for everybody, what's best for faith, family, freedom, the very core things that your dad preached and believed that he and I did together when he was working with us in the Crusades and on television. Did you, up close and personal, see the same things I was seeing?
Absolutely. And like I said, we saw somebody that is fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. Very few people could take on the negative attacks that the president has withstood and keep fighting. Most people would give up and walk away, but he really believes in this country, and he's willing to put his own himself through the ringer day in and day out to fight for America and fight for every American. Look at what he has done in just 4 years. We've seen historic peace deals in the Middle East. We've seen a booming economy, the eradication of the ISIS caliphate, a complete and total overhaul and remake of our judicial system. More than 200 federal judges have been appointed under this president, including 2 conservative Supreme Court justices, a fighter for the pro-life community, a fighter for religious freedom. This is a person who is doing things to help all Americans do better. And I am proud of the work that he's done, and I'm proud to have played a small part in that effort.
Well, you know, one of the reasons your dad and Ben Carson really wanted me to be with the president was because they knew that I was the result of an unwanted pregnancy with a 40-year-old hospice nurse who was forced by the alcoholic son of the man she was caring for. And yet when she went to get me aborted, which she did, and I don't think there's any need in getting in that big argument that you're going to change people's minds, that they are going to make a choice in these crisis situations. But what happened was the doctor said no, and she said she prayed, and God said this baby, which she was never supposed to have a baby and had been married and never got pregnant, got divorced, but now she's pregnant, and said, God said, this baby can bring joy to the world. And she gave birth to a baby that ultimately hired your dad, bought him his first suits, and we put God's arms around the world, and we're doing that in mission outreaches nonstop and on television for more than 50 years. So you see, this president wants all life to be considered important and precious and valuable, including the life in the womb. And I've been active in the scenes in Washington with leaders for 40 years. I've never seen a president, a national leader, come out more boldly for life in the womb and all life for all time. He really does care about it. Am I exaggerating when I say that about him?
Not at all. He was the very first president to ever speak at the March for Life. He has been a champion, and I think it was unexpected. And probably a lot of people were skeptical about the president's commitment, but he has been tireless in his fight for the pro-life community. I think he understands what a lot of us understand and share, James, is that the value of life and the value that we place on life is what makes America different. It's what makes America unique, is that we cherish and we value and think every life is sacred and that every life matters, and that we will do everything we can to protect each and every life. And we finally have a president who's fighting for that cause, fighting for that purpose alongside us. And I don't think we could have a better champion than we do for that movement than the president.
Well, I agree with you 100%. As press secretary, and you know, and your dad was the governor there for 10 years, and you knew he was active with me when we were helping others, helping Reagan and other leaders. But the point is that have you ever seen a president that would be as patient with the press as he has? I've never seen one. Every time he walks out of the White House, headed to Marine One to go for a trip, he stops and talks to all the people that wish he was dead. They're going to do their best to misrepresent him, and yet he stands there and talks to them. He tries to explain something. He spends more time talking to the American people as directly as he can than any president. Listen, he's done more than all of them in my lifetime put together to try to communicate. Do you see his desire to want what's actually important and what's going on for the people to hear it? Do you see him as amazingly patient with some of the cruelest, meanest people on the planet? Do you see that as remarkable?
I've seen him lose his patience a couple times with that group too, as I think we all
does
have.
that.
But one of the things I love about the president is he's not afraid to take difficult questions. He's not afraid to speak directly to the American people. He's not afraid to be challenged. He is the most accessible president that we've had in modern history. He doesn't just take questions online. He provides information in a number of different platforms, whether it's speeches or tweets or whatever else. You may not like it, but you know where he is on a given topic at any given time because he tells you. And I think it's refreshing for most people in America to have unfiltered access to the President of the United States. They don't have to hear everything in the media's eyes. They get to hear it directly from the president himself. I think that's important. I think it's the reason he won in 16. It's the reason he's been able to maintain that level of enthusiasm. He goes around the media and he speaks directly to the American people.
Well, I see it. You know, the morning after he was elected, he was taking my calls. He still does. He's so nice. And I said, boy, this is amazing, isn't it? And I said, you know, the first time we met and spent that time together, I said, I want to surround you with prayer and wisdom. And he said, this is the morning after he's elected. Surround me. Surround me. And don't you ever let me forget it. You know what? He's never forgotten it. And when we communicate and talk, whether we're sitting in the White House with a group of people, whether it's just us talking, whether it's on the phone, wherever we are, he always says, that's what I want. I do want prayer. I want wisdom. I believe he knows wisdom comes from above. Do you think he believes that?
I think he definitely does. And again, one of the things like you, James, that I've experienced firsthand is the power of prayer and the power of that support for the president around the country, and just how impactful it's been for him and all of the people that work for him, myself included. It was one of the things that kept us going on many days. And certainly, I think one of the things we all cherished was hearing those words, we're praying for you, and I'm praying for you, as we traveled around the country and interacted with people. It was something that really meant a lot to each of us.
All right, I want to close with this. You're the mother of 3 children. Tell everybody how old your children are, because you said, I got to go home. You know, they're going to have one mom. I got to do this, and I think it was wise. But you did a great job in the White House. You're an awesome press secretary. So is Kayleigh. And by the way, if people don't know, Kayleigh's first job was working with Mike Huckabee. His first job was working with James Robinson. All right, now you're the mother of 3. Tell everybody how old your children are, and then tell us, as a mother of those precious children, do you believe it's important for those children and for the future of this country that Donald Trump remain in leadership in Washington?
My kids are 8, 6, and 5, Scarlett, Huck, and George. They're a wild bunch, but they're really cute, so we're keeping them all. And they challenge us every minute of every day, and we wouldn't want it any other way. And one of the reasons that I served in the White House, and one of the reasons that I was willing to fight back and stand in and take the criticism for 2.5 years, is because I am a mom, and because I care about the future that and the country that my kids are going to grow up in. I want them to grow up in an America that still believes in something, that still values something, and still stands for certain principles. And I wanted them to see that. I want them to know why it's important to be part of the system, and for good people to be involved. We have to continue to keep our hands in the process and keep being part of the system. Otherwise, bad things happen when good people don't stand in the gap. And so it's important for us to do that, and I'm proud I got to. And
a good way to stand in the gap is to vote for Donald J. Trump. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. I think so.
All right, I want to say to everybody watching this on the stream now, if she decides to run for office, for governor, or any office, I want you praying for Sarah, but I also want you to support her. I want you to help her with your prayers, but also financially. That's important, isn't it, Sarah?
Yes, sir.
All right, God bless you. Thanks for the time. You've been a tremendous blessing for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James.